Today I fucked up by making a CBAT reference. For context, I live in a rural area, and for the time am saving money by going to a local community college before transferring to a much larger university. Since this is my first year in college, I don't really have too many friends yet, the caveat being a handful of just above acquaintances. The average class size is relatively small, nearing around 30 for a lecture and 10-15 for your run-of-the-mill courses. For one of these classes, psychology, my professor likes to use an app for attendance. The app asks whatever questions she assigns, none so far being related to the topic at hand. Some previous attendance questions have been, "What is your favorite animal?" or, "If you could go anywhere, where would you go?" Rather benign questions that you can't really fuck up. It is also important to note that all of the answers are displayed on the board for everyone to see. Here is where the real story starts. I walk into class as usual and pull out my phone for the daily attendance question, which was as follows. What song would you like to walk into or out of every room to? Intro or outro? Me, being who I am and a rather comedic person, see my chance to make a reference to something taking the internet by storm. In all my genius glory, I respond with, CBAT, by Hudson Mohawk, and watch as it's plastered on the board for everyone to see. Only to my disappointment that nobody seemed to notice, or understand the reference. Since these submissions are anonymous, I wasn't ashamed at all that nobody got the joke, and enjoyed it for myself. That is until I noticed what the professor was doing. I watched as she wrote down the name of every song, and added them to our daily playlist, which she plays when we walk into the classroom and until everyone answers the attendance questions. Meaning that starting tomorrow, our class will have a personalized playlist each morning to walk into. I feel an immense amount of guilt, as now we will all be walking into this classroom and playing Russian roulette with our ears, and I am the one to have loaded the gun. Too long did not read. I fucked up and added CBAT to the daily class playlist as a joke. I trust you'll do the right thing when the song plays. LMAO000 enjoy your Russian roulette of CBAT ting your classmates. Fuck sake. I finally listened to it since it keeps coming up here, and that dude's girlfriend was right, that's a stupid song to try and fuck to. God damn. Question. What is CBAT? And why is it so bad? As a fan of the original thread, I think that every psychology class deserves a chance to really dig deep. Kudos to you for providing this pristine opportunity, I'm sure you've done everyone a favor. Don't think of it as a fuck up, think of it as a social experiment. Today I fucked up by asking my fantasy to come true. Edit to clarify about consent. When I was describing the fantasy, I also discussed how I wanted it to be a surprise, and how sure I was about it working in everyone's favor. I've now realized that not all fantasies are fun IRL. I shared a fantasy with my significant other about having him masturbate while I'm asleep and then finishing on my face. I don't know why, but the thought stupidly appealed to me. I asked if he would really do this for me, first mistake. My significant other sorry it was not something he'd do, because, duh, I'm sleeping, it wouldn't be a good time, and all this logical stuff about it, and for a long time, didn't do it. A long time later, I was sleeping on my side, second mistake. Suddenly, a shadow is standing in front of me, but I dismiss it and fall back asleep, third mistake. Then, I hear fumbling, feel something fall on my face and pillow, but keep trying to fall back asleep. The something on my face and pillow started dripping into my ear, and this creepy sensation made me open my eyes, fourth mistake. Stuff dripped into my eyes, and I rubbed at it furiously, which only rubbed the foul stuff into my eyes more, fifth mistake. At this point, I'm sitting up, eyes burning and with a nasty earful, asking what the hell is going on. My significant other is using his shirt trying to clean me up and saying, "You asked me to do this." That's when, even though it was still pitch dark in the room, I realized he had duplicated my dumbass fantasy. Only, in my fantasy, his semen hadn't clouded my ears, my vision, nor had it been smeared, thanks to me, all over my hair, pillow, and blanket. Too long did not read. I asked my significant other to finish on my face while I slept. When he actually did it, it was awful and more akin to a horror film than a porn. My fiancée wanted me to do this to her feet, she kicks in her sleep. I haven't been brave enough to do it yet. Porn is like any other media in that you can enjoy a concept in a fictional setting yet have no desire to do it for real. Like, I enjoy the Fallout games, but don't actually want to live in a nuclear wasteland. My wife has said a couple of times she likes the idea of me having sex with her while she is asleep or waking her with sex. I've not indulged this fantasy because any time I have accidentally woken her she is always grumpy about it. There is a 0% chance her consenting awake brain is on the same page as her asleep brain. I feel I am a guy and I have had the fantasy of doing this to someone, but the reality of how not fun it would be for her keeps from even asking. Today I fucked up after leaving my date alone with my roommate. I didn't come home alone last night. I had a girl with me. She was confident and cute, and to be honest, I didn't expect someone like her to be interested in spending the night at my place considering how socially awkward I was during our entire date. My roommate was in the living room when we entered the apartment. I introduced the two of them before excusing myself to use the bathroom. I poop whenever I'm extremely nervous. I don't know why, but it's been like that since I was a kid. For most people, the possibility of sex is usually a source of excitement. For an inexperienced, introverted and socially inept person like me, it's often a source of anxiety. Hence, the pooping. I decided to have a quick shower afterwards. Wash away whatever traces there were of my nervous reaction on the toilet. I must have been in the bathroom for more or less 30 minutes. I knew it was weird to disappear like that and I was totally prepared to awkwardly explain my absence. However, when I returned to the living room, I realized no explanation was necessary. My date was sound asleep in my roommate's arms while he was still wide awake. As soon as he saw me, he did the finger in front of the lips shush thing. I had no idea what the two of them did in the short time I was gone, but I smelled weed and I noticed glow-in-the-dark yo-yo toys and hula hoops, which explained why the living room was darker than before. My roommate suggested I smoke some weed to pass the time. I ended up smoking too much weed and eventually fell asleep on the couch. This morning when I woke up my roommate and my date were no longer in the living room. My first instinct was to check my roommate's room. There they were, literally sleeping together. Most of their clothes were on the floor, except underwear. I tiptoed to my roommate's side of the bed and woke him the fuck up. The two of us whispered back and forth like we were discussing highly classified information. I accused him of fucking my date behind my back whereas he denied that anything sexual happened and reminded me that he's gay as fuck. Towards the end of our whisper war, I didn't know what to believe anymore. I was too upset to think clearly. By the time my date woke up, my roommate and I were in the kitchen, preparing breakfast in complete silence. Long story short, my date backed up everything my roommate said. Nothing happened between them. Sleeping on the couch was uncomfortable and my roommate's bed was not. The end. I was outnumbered and desperate to diffuse the tension, so I accepted whatever they said. Call me paranoid, but I'm convinced they fucked, which means even a gay guy has more success sleeping with girls than I do. TLR, I brought a girl home, left her alone with my roommate to use the bathroom and found her sleeping with him. Next time he brings a date home, pull the Uno reverse card and fuck him. You're lucky she didn't just leave while you were showering. I would have, that's totally unnecessary. As long as you wipe your ass, or water blast it if you've got a bidet, and wash your hands, you're fine. Women understand that men shit, it's not a secret. Lol, this is so weird. You literally just disappeared on her for a half hour without any explanation? She stopped being your date then and was on her own. So the moral of the story is, you either shit or you get off the pot. I'm sorry, but here's the thing about being gay. Particularly in the modern day, they don't have to hide being gay by doing anything intimate with a member of the opposite sex. You screwed up by showering for half an hour, and believing your gay roommate had intercourse with the woman you brought home. That attitude might have more to do with why you are unlucky with women. Today I fucked up by hacking the school computer without knowing how to unhack it. I am 13M in middle school in America where they gave every kid a shitty Chromebooks for school. When the pandemic started they let us use our own computer for school but some kids didn't have one, some couldn't afford a computer, and most of us were just playing games. So they gave everyone a shitty Chromebook that you weren't initially required to use until they installed something called Go Guardian which lets the teacher see what tabs you are on and tabs you were previously on. It also shows how long you stayed on each tab. Go Guardian is a Chrome Web Store extension which you can usually remove in like 2 seconds, but there is an admin account on every computer that forces you to have it installed. You usually can't even attempt to log into the admin account. But if you power wash, factory reset, your Chromebook, it gives you an option to disable the admin account on the Chromebook, if you know the password. So me and some friends started inputting random passwords. I typed in some random numbers, I don't remember what they were. Somehow it worked. I had removed the admin account. I thought I was a genius for about 15 seconds until I realized that if the school found out they would put me suspend or even expel me. I had already previously gotten in trouble because of the computers from me putting Nintendo SNES emulators that Go Guardian couldn't see on my computer and from me teaching other kids how to hide YouTube from Go Guardian. I tried desperately to re-enable the admin account, which ultimately did nothing but delay my end. In the class one was in the teacher didn't use Go Guardian, but my next class was innovation and design, which is basically technology class. So I went to tech class and turns out the teacher was doing one of her fun little random computer checks where she checks for video games, VPNs, secondary browsers, just any kind of shit that the kids did that the teachers know about. She noticed that when she went to the extensions tab that Go Guardian was available to be deleted, and so she took my Chromebook back to her desk to investigate. She called the IT guy and he figured out that the admin account removed from the Chromebook and rightly assumed that I did it. He then called the principal, who, after giving me a lecture about how the Chromebook is the school's property and how hacking is a cybercrime, I was given her 1 month of lunch detention. Also, I am writing this from my PC at home. He forgot to call my parents. Too long, did not read. Kid guesses school admin account's password, doesn't know what he typed as the password, gets 1 month of lunch detention. The skills you're developing by being curious about computers are way more valuable than the energy the school faculty is going through to keep you from doing it. Keep exploring, keep hacking, and keep finding new ways to do it that don't get you into too much trouble. You'll be just fine. You should just have factory reset it again, and pretended that it somehow failed. Is the IT guy the same person who set up the Chromebooks? Are your parents supportive? If so, I would let them talk to IT guy and point out that a 7th grade student randomly guessed the password that has been applied to all the Chromebooks at your school. They could mention that this seems like a very insecure way of dealing with equipment that likely contains children's data, and that you will let the school district's IT department know about the incident. In other words, you violated your school's code of conduct, but IT guy failed at his job and probably doesn't want his supervisors to know. Ask your English teacher about paragraphs.